1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning and welcome to a very chilly sunrise safari. We're not going to be seeing much of the sun, I don't think. I think this is the coldest I've been in quite some time. I've got a blankie on, I've got 2 jerseys on, and I haven't even broken out my winter kit yet, so I'm regretting that slightly. But it is a very cloudy day. My name is Brent Smith. I have Wium, aka the wildebeest Dawnbank, on camera. We have Jamie and Jeandre out on the other vehicle, and we have Geraldine and Louise in final control. So, really windy night last night, so good if you were a cat, and it continues to be good hunting weather if you're a cat, with these dark skies and bustly winds. So, Wium and I are heading towards the last position of those Birmingham male lions to see how much of that buffalo they've managed to inhale overnight. There was a report of 3 lioness on the Aaaand camp crossing the dam wall. I wonder if they went to join the Birmingham Boys, and that was from Diane. So we will see shortly. We're not too far away. But it is a very chilly morning. Now, a chilly, cold morning with this strong wind is going to make it very difficult to see lots of the general game. Oh, scrub hair, off you go. Anne-Marie says she can't believe that this wind is still whipping around. It is. It seems to have brought a large cold front, and how long it will stay, we shall find out. Not sure that this does look quite dark and ominous up there, but you won't be able to see it just yet. I think we might be in for a bit of rain later. We shall see as the safari progresses. Now, a lot of our long-time viewers will know that I am not a fan of the cold. So Sue says, what's happening? Where's Brent rushing off to? So I'm not rushing per se, just driving with hunched shoulders and shivering my way towards the Birmingham males to see if they're still there or whether they've inhaled that whole buffalo carcass. Now here will be a good spot to see if their tracks have already departed from that buffalo, but it doesn't look like it. So the Birminghams have quite a habit of leaving half-finished buffalo lying around, but I think they were particularly hungry this time, so maybe they will finish this whole one. It'll be very interesting to see if those 3 lionesses, and exactly who those 3 lionesses might be. 3 lionesses together, a strong possibility it could be the Styx ladies. So while we continue to make our way towards what's left of that buffalo, let's go to Jamie so she can bid you a good morning.
Good morning and welcome to our sunrise safari. If of course we do have any kind of sunrise, it seems a little bit unlikely at this point. I think it's more that it's just going to get lighter as the day progresses. I know that Brent's spoken to you a lot about this peculiar weather we've been experiencing. I'd like to say, I'm sure you'll all agree that perhaps I should stop trying to predict what the weather's going to do, because so far I don't think I've been right once. So much for the rain that I thought was going to come bucketing down out of the sky this morning. Now Brent's on his way towards Aaaand to check up on the Birmingham Boys and their kill, possibly follow up on the report of those lioness seen on the Aaaand dam camera. I'm going to stick around Jeandre, see if the Nkahuma is still or not. That was different lionesses that wandered through there. They had their tracks yesterday going in to close to the drainage line or the creek system to the Boyatella Dam. Then nothing out. We then got a very garbled message that the Birmingham Boys buffalo kill was actually killed by the Nkuhumas and that they'd been chased off by the Birmingham Boys. And when I asked more about that, they said that absolutely wasn't the case. There was the situation where the Majingilan male lions chased the Nkuhumas off a zebra kill in Simbambini. So maybe that's where the stories got crossed, or the lines got crossed. The lions got crossed, haha. Wait and see. Comic genius very, very early in the morning. I'm going to check all the way around here. Karula's definitely been around Jeandre. Brent had her tracks yesterday wandering up and down all over the show, so we'll check for her. We'll also keep an eye out for them. But in the meantime, I'm going to wait until it's a bit lighter and just pop my head in at the hyena den. I have to confess, I don't think that the hyenas are going to be up this morning. I think they're going to be taking full advantage of this very pleasant weather that is more appropriate for cuddling up in bed. I think that's what they're going to be doing, tucked away in their little holes. It's not just because it's cold out here, and it is cold for us. This is positively Arctic for us. They will also, because of all of the wind, it's very dangerous for the cubs to be out and about in this kind of
So we've arrived at the remnants of that buffalo carcass, and I've only seen 3 males so far. As you can see, there's a fat belly. The carcass is in the bush there. We will move around, see if we can get a better view. But there we go. You can see still quite a bit of the carcass left. And I think they're still going to be here for the sunset safari. Oh, here we go. So they've placed it in this little thicket here to stop creatures like vultures spotting it, and also to have a nice shady place to feed. Oh, there we go. Pull it out. That's a good boy. Pull it better to where we can see it better. See, getting stuck into that, and after that hot day yesterday and very humid day, the carcass is probably quite putrid already, but that's never stopped the lion. Lions are quite happy to feed off very rotting meat. Incredible how powerful they are. I saw a slight limp as this guy got up. I wonder if it's the same one we had near Buffalo's Hook Waterhole a few safaris ago. And we will try to have a look at the other males. They're sleeping off on the other side of this little creek bed. So I only saw 3 when we came. It doesn't mean all 5 aren't present. See the flies buzzing around already. You'll probably find there's been a lot of eggs laid in that carcass. Oh, there's another one there. Oh, so that's 4 now, I think. Just over there. There's a car coming through, so I won't show it too long. Morning, morning. Well, Siberia is joking, says, does buffalo breakfast go good with eggs, toast and bacon? Well, I think the only bacon these lions have ever had is warthog. So I think they either have one or the other. So this morning it's buffalo. Unfortunately, he is right in that little thicket. I'm trying to see if I can maybe just move forward a centimetre or two, see if we can see a little bit more. Wicked Ang would like to know, is that the thin one we saw yesterday? I'm not sure. I don't think so, though. So I don't think it is one, but there are quite a few fat lions lying about. Can you get a shot of that guy through the bush there, Ben? See him? Just go up. And a little bit to the right. Just come out a little bit. He might just be behind that baby leadwood for you. He's about there. You come down to the ground, now slightly to the left. And so there is a lion behind there. You're just going to have to trust me for now until we can move. Oh, he's getting really stuck in now. Listen to that. Can you see how he turns his head to the side? Using his premolars as basically like a massive pair of side cutters. And you can hear a birch or starling calling in the tree above. So the dawn chorus will be very quiet on a morning like this. And you can see how the flesh is starting to rot already. You can actually smell it. Oh, it looks like he might pull the carcass again. Come. So Virginia in Kentucky is asking, when coalition members fight, have they ever been known to kill one another? So Virginia, it is possible, and I'm trying to remember, I've heard of it on one or two occasions, but normally it doesn't go that far. It can be quite violent. They do often beat each other up quite badly, but it's very unusual they'll actually kill each other. Rich would like to know, do lions still contract bovine tuberculosis from eating buffalo in the Sabi Sands, and then it mutates into feline TB? They do, it is possible, Rich, but there's some, oh, look at this. He might try pull it again, no. He's got his spot. There's a lot of recent studies in Kruger by the scientists that are showing a strong immunity towards the tuberculosis, even though the lions are carrying it. It doesn't really affect them like it did when the disease made its initial jump over. So yes, they are still carriers, but it has very little effect on them unless they have already a predisposed genetic defect or disorder. So there has been almost zero change in the longevity of lions to do with the TB, even though they are carriers now. Now, very interesting. Bovine tuberculosis in the south of the Kruger Park is about 35 to 40%. And the further you move north in the park, the less bovine tuberculosis there is. So right up in the northern sectors of the park in Pafuri, there's only about 6% of the buffalo have bovine tuberculosis, which is very different from the southern end of the park, where between 35 and 40% of the buffalo are carriers of bovine tuberculosis. So Clayton says he's got a big bite. He says he knows that hyenas have got the strongest house strong as the lions. Well, Clayton, if I remember correctly, I might be wrong, so you guys are more than welcome to double check for me. But if I remember correctly, a lion's bite is somewhere between 400 and 600 pounds of pressure per square inch. Although the number 800 does somehow sit in my brain. But I wouldn't mind if you guys would check for me how many pounds of pressure per square inch is a lion's bite. And you can send those answers through to questions at WildEarth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. Now, we'll sit here with these lions a little bit longer, but in the meantime, let's go to Jamie, who's got some of the creatures that lions eat.
Some rather nervous antelope and zebra on quarantine clearings. Definitely looking a little bit stressed out. After that windy, dark night, you can barely blame them. Bear with me one moment, I'm going to give the guys an update. Morning, no updates for Vuyatila so far, just Shamin Love around Philemon's Cutline. Hello guys, you had a scary night. Zebra already moving away from us. Lex, the last we knew they'd moved a little bit further to the north, on the same side of the road, but very close to the fire break. You'll see it from the road. I checked earlier, it wasn't active. They're all puffed up. Impala actually almost change color on a cold day like today. Their hair stands on end, just like we get goosebumps or chicken skin, and it gives them a much darker red color than their usual glossy sheen. Tails all swishing, very fluffed. Even their tails are fluffed up this morning. Shame, little ones. Probably the coldest they've ever experienced. Little male with his first horns, or his horns first coming through. I've seen two of these young males actually headbutting each other. Whoop. I wish I could jump like that. Though they've already started to be affected by the hormones that are flying around at the moment, trying to fight each other with those tiny little dagger-like horns. It's quite sweet to watch, actually. Let's try and get to another view of those zebra. I have a sneaky suspicion about those hyena, just by the way. I have a sneaky suspicion that they've moved. Oopsie. Sorry, Wendy. Clayton, no, unfortunately, our Land Rovers don't have heaters. That's definitely not. We have a lot of things in our Land Rovers. Lots of radios, microphone boxes, cables, rain covers, all kinds of different items. None of those include a heater. The best approach in midwinter, and midwinter does get exceptionally cold. Just look how grouped together and nervous these zebra are. Sorry, Clayton, I'll be with you in 1 sec. Unhappy bunch. Look at that. It's actually a bachelor herd. A very large bachelor herd. There were probably about 8 or 9 there. This must be the same herd that James mentioned to me. So no heaters. The best you could do is wrap yourself in a blanket and grab a hot water bottle on our freezing winter days. We're not quite at that stage just yet, but I feel as though I'm sort of not too far off it. Brent's repositioned for the lions. I have other things to find you, and our general game's a bit nervous, so why don't you go and have a look at some more Birmingham Boys.
So we've jumped across to have a look at some of the other lions around, and you can see fat bellies. It's quite difficult to ID the different individuals while we're here, but isn't that a wonderful view of the bottom of a male lion's paw? You can see the very distinct little 3 lobes there, distended belly. So there's a second of the males, and if we go up above him, there we go, you can see the other 2 sleeping. That looks like the skinny guy, but he is looking a lot better now. You can see his belly is quite round. And there's another fat belly in the thicket. And there's number 5. Thank you to Eileen, Curtis, and Judy. Lions have a bite force of 600 pounds of pressure per square inch. Hyenas are almost double that at 1,100 pounds of pressure per square inch. And so this male's obviously been feeding recently, and he's now giving himself a good clean. So we're just going to move slightly so we can maybe try and catch his whole head. Okay, here we go. Hello, big boy. So, Carolyn would like to know, do lions or other animals ever get cavities or abscesses in their teeth? Most definitely. Lions, leopards, hyenas, probably more so than other animals, because they do utilize their teeth a lot. And, of course, chewing on bones and catching creatures, to break a tooth or 2. So they do get cavities and abscesses quite frequently, and it's sometimes quite visible, and you will find quite a few of them with broken teeth as well. And you can see he was probably feeding just before we arrived. His face still quite moist with buffalo juices, but looks like he's eaten a lot, almost ready to flop. Isn't that beautiful? So a big and warm SafariLIVE good morning to Tiffany, who is Shanae's sister. Shanae is a guide at Nkoro, who used to be an avid viewer, so lovely to have you with us, Tiffany. Tiffany would like to know, are these the same lions that I saw with Shanae when I was visiting at Nkoro? They are, Tiffany. This is the Birmingham. So you can see grooming carrying on after the feeding. So while this buffalo removes the this lion removes the remnants of that buffalo off himself, let's go have a look at a live buffalo with Jamie.
Very much a live buffalo, and also rather chilly on this windy morning. This is what I'm going to find most of the animals doing, most of the ruminants doing, lying down and just contemplating life. Not really all that keen to stand up and expose themselves to the chilly wind. So a lazy start for the animals of Jeandre. Not the oxpeckers though, they are industriously up and about as soon as the sun starts to peek over the horizon and going about their daily business of tick gathering and feeding. I know this buffalo fairly well. He's actually quite a nervous individual at times, but he seemed quite content now to relax, enjoy a morning line, and allow the oxpeckers to go about their cleaning. Don't want to take you away from those lions for too long, especially not if there are other vehicles waiting to join that sighting. So jump back onto the back of Brent's vehicle.
So you can see still prepping and preening and cleaning, or he is. If we look carefully on his skin, we might be able to even pick up some ticks and things. Oh, and that's the end of that. Time for a snooze, belly full of buffalo. You can see, even though it's a really cool morning, how heavily he's panting from digesting that meat. He almost looks like he's so fat he's uncomfortable. Now, quite often when lions are very full like this, sometimes they'll roll onto their back to take it. There we go, to take a bit of weight off the belly. So Sandra is wondering, if tuberculosis is airborne, could humans catch it if they came into contact with buffalo? Sandra, bovine tuberculosis would have to be transferred by the consumption of fresh and raw meat or blood. So we're quite safe from catching the tuberculosis from buffalo. So guys, I think that's about it. The other male has also stopped feeding, and I don't think they're going to be doing too much more for the foreseeable future. There are quite a lot of other game drive vehicles who are trying to get in here, and we've been a little bit spoiled, and we've actually had them doing something rather than sleeping. So I think we're going to move out and let some other people come enjoy. Bye-bye, fat kitty. Just get out of here carefully. Eric in New York is wondering, is there a part of the buffalo that the lion won't eat? They're unable to digest the horns and the hooves, Eric. Where's that other lion? Far away. So that's what they won't eat. Also, this looks like a buffalo cow. The top of her skull and that will even be too thick for a hyena or lion to break apart. So there's another section they won't get to the brain. There's very specialized little insects, certain carrion beetles and scarab beetles, that main purpose is to actually climb into the cavities and digest the brain matter and all the sinew and little tendons and stuff that the other animals aren't able to get to. Okay, watch out, GoPro. Okay. Cheers. Thanks for that. Stations, whoever's first station standing by for the Ngala lock, welcome to make the way. I'm moving out. So, what a great way to start the sunrise safari. So Lala and Bill are wondering, is there a pecking order amongst that coalition about who gets to eat first? Most definitely there is definitely sort of a ranking or hierarchy in male lion coalitions, but it is quite a fluid thing that changes. So it depends on who's had the most to eat beforehand. So if relatively full, won't fight too much for first bite at the carcass. But there's definitely a hierarchy, and there's more competition for mating rights than real food rights at the carcass. But a lot of the time that hierarchy is very, very similar. So whoever is the most, not necessarily the biggest, the most aggressive lion quite often gets first choice at everything. But as I said, those type of things with those male lions, it's not always the same lion at the top. It does go in cycles. The one male might have got a wound and stuff, so he's not going to be able to fight as well as he could have. So there is a little bit of movement up and down, always changing in the social hierarchy of those male lions. So Mike says, could hyena smell that carcass? Would they challenge the male lions for it? Now, Mike, I'm pretty sure that hyenas are quite aware where that carcass is, but no hyena clan in their right mind would take on 5 fit male lions. They probably wouldn't even take on 1 fit male lion. So they definitely would not go near that carcass. Male lions are so much bigger and stronger than a lioness. You will find hyenas will really irritate young male lions and lionesses, but they don't really mess around with adult males. So while we make our way back towards Jeandre, let's go see what Jam is up to.
While Brent crosses back towards Jeandre, we've just come to visit the old hyena den that's on Philemon's Cutline. The reason I've popped in here is just because I saw a couple of very fresh hyena tracks heading across in this direction. But it is a false alarm. No hyena here. Could just be the males moving through an area. Their tracks just looked tiny enough to maybe be a sub-adult. I think for now we're going to just start heading further and further east, see if there's any sign of Karula heading back to the south. Watch your heads, everyone. Lyle in Washington has a general question about the various shots and inoculations that one must have in order to work in this kind of industry. Lyle, you'll find that most of us are not too bothered because we don't really work with hands-on contact with the animals. That being said, having a tetanus injection for us is quite an important thing. I know that personally I have a tendency to cut myself on a regular basis with things like rusty metal. The last one was a sign that I tried to jump over that had been there for some 50 odd years and was very rusty. So tetanus shots are a good thing. And very recently, with the tremendous rabies outbreak that occurred around Hoedspruit, both Brent and myself got hold of some rabies vaccinations. Just on the off chance, especially, it wasn't so much for our work here, because the outbreak wasn't as bad as it was close to Hoedspruit, but just in case, when we were staying on Brent's parents, or at Brent's parents' house, that there's always a chance of a squirrel or a bat or something that is a carrier of rabies, or a jackal. Because when animals with rabies, they demonstrate an unusual friendliness at times, almost like they're habituated, they lose their fear of people. And So you run the risk of becoming exposed to rabies in that way. So we had rabies vaccinations. Usually I haven't been too bothered about keeping up with my rabies vaccines, but it was something that was necessary this time around, or this year. In terms of what tourists need, different countries will have, or your travel medical professionals will have different advice. For example, we don't really take malaria prophylaxis out here. It's a very low-risk area for malaria, particularly after the drought. But a lot of doctors do recommend that if you come to this area, you should be taking malaria prophylaxis. For us, it would be almost impossible for us to keep up with the demands in that way. Let's just check here very carefully for hyenas. Their tracks are moving through here. Nope, no sign of them there. I wonder why they were all wandering along this road. In terms of what vaccinations you need and what you should, just have a chat if you're going to come and visit South Africa. Have a chat to your doctor. For the most part, it's a fairly safe country in terms of exposure to diseases. You'll find that most of the people who come to visit, it's actually more about visa requirements than anything else. Traveling further north towards Zambia, Tanzania, you might find that if you need those visas or those passes, being able to go into those areas, you might have to get something like a yellow fever vaccination as well. Just depends on where you're going. And bearing in mind, of course, that South Africa, as a country, despite what the certain rumors that fly about, actually has an exceptionally advanced medical care system. There's very, very good doctors out here, and probably if you find yourself bitten by a snake, for example, or something like that, you'll probably find that South Africa doctors are the best in the world, except par for maybe the Australian doctors, who also have to deal with some nasty toxins out there, nasty venom. Our doctors are incredibly experienced, particularly in the low veld, with dealing with snake bites. I thought that would be the case. Hello, Karula tracks. Sorry, let me show you what I mean. I just had a funny feeling she might come this way. There you go. Can you see them there, Jeandre? Perfect, neat little leopard tracks. There's nothing more perfect looking than a paw print of a leopard, in my opinion. They're just so neat. Walking fairly fast along this road in the direction of a treehouse dam. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't see any further along towards the buffalo, so I think she's gone off into this drainage line. Now, as you know, I'm not going to be following up too much, just in case she has moved her cubs to a drainage line den site. But we will move along the road along the side and just see if we can catch a glimpse of her, because I'm certain that she would have been out hunting last night. So while we investigate and double check which way she's gone, let's find out how Brent's morning's going.
So I just heard the wonderful news that Jamie has seen Queen Karula tracks. So we're not too far from her. So we're going to check that area a little bit to the sort of south of Treehouse Waterhole. See if we can find any tracks. There we go. Go ahead.
We're going east along Elephant Carcass Road towards the drainage line around the Treehouse Dam.
Copy, thanks. I'm on Gowrie Main. Do you want me to check Weaver's Nest? Oh, sorry, on Weaver's Nest from Gowrie Main, or do you want me to check Shabam? Oh?
Sorry, please repeat.
I'm on the Gowrie Main at the moment. Would you like me to check Weaver's Nest from Gowrie Main or Shabam?
I'm going to go back along towards Leader's Nest, and maybe if you check Shibam and then work your way east from there.
Copy, will do. Some exciting stuff. We're going to
Can you give me a quick update?
two vehicles in there. Sorry, I was going to be on the radio with yours. Morning, yours. Any updates so far as in Nkonzo of Wansati, Ingwe on Elephant Carcass heading towards Tree House. There's 2 stations following up in that area at the moment.
Copy that, Brent. Brent, just quickly tell me, if it's possible, that elephant at your campus, is that the one of the howl in his ear, on his left ear? Like a big 50mm howl.
What are you wanting? How's it?
ABS braking.
Yeah, good, thanks. Nkonzo is near Treehouse Dam at the moment. Yeah, so Jamie's following up. So we had tracks of her around Vuyatela yesterday. And then also Buffalo's Hook, and then in the Moati, she's been zigzagging a lot.
Okay. Oh, look at the kudu, guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
cool.
kudu, yeah.
Well, we're going to go see if we pops out around Shibam, that side.
All right. I'm going to go there anyway, just
Cool.
to take a look. Maybe she would come back somewhere through the night or whatever.
Perfect. Good luck.
Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Yes, Mike, yes, I will report it to thanks.
Sorry about this, guys. It just seems everything's happening. Sorry, yours. Just chatting to the Arethusa guys. If that is affirmative. That elephant does have a big hole in his left ear.
Thanks a lot.
So it seems the naughty elephant's been naughty again, but this time on Buffalo's Hook. Okay, so exciting stuff. So Cedric is going to go check down there whether he can find any tracks of Karula. So Tingana was chasing an unidentified male leopard yesterday to the east of us, and James Richards wondering, could it be Gajima? Now, Gajima is a very skittish male leopard that comes in from the north. James, I think it's unlikely. I think it's more likely in the area where that was happening to be either Mvula Quarantine are the 2 leopards that are seen most in that area. So Gajima seems to be further to the north and east. And I spotted something marching down the road. And there it is. It's a wildly beast. A lone wildebeest bull. In search of ladies. So next month or end of this month, beginning of next month, the wildebeest actually start their rut. So it'll be fascinating to see. He looks like he's on a mission. Hello, mister. And you can see all the animals are going to be very nervous in this high winds. So a lot of the herbivores, or what we consider mostly to be prey species, are going to be a bit jumpy. We've got a very interesting question that I don't know the answer to from Spirit in the Sky. She'd like to know, do the antelope here have a problem with blue tongue? So I'm not exactly sure what blue tongue is. So maybe if you can send me a little bit more information about blue tongue, maybe we call it something else here, or maybe it's a disease we don't get in Southern Africa. So if anyone can send me a little bit more information about what blue tongue is, hopefully then I can be a little bit more helpful. And remember, you can pop that information in an email to me on questions@wildearth.tv, or you can just use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. We're just double checking where we've checked already very carefully. Now, leopards being a lot lighter than lions, it makes their tracks just that more difficult to see. So nothing just yet. We are in search of the Queen of Jeandre, who has got 2 cubs, or the last we heard. So Ellen in North Dakota is wondering, how long would she leave her cubs for? Now, Ellen, that's completely dependent. It can be anything from a few hours to a few days. But at this young age, she's probably not going to leave them for more than 2 days. But it is possible she can leave them for up to 4 or 5 days as they get older. So Jamie's checking from that side. We're going to come down from the western side. I'm just going to be going very, very slowly and make sure we don't miss any tracks. Now, this is a favorite haunt of Karula, this area around the treehouse waterhole. We've enjoyed many fantastic sightings of her around here. The first time I ever saw Karula was probably about 100 meters to the south of us here. But positive news, we didn't find any tracks crossing our southern traverse edge. And yesterday, fortunately, there was some there was some road maintenance done yesterday, so there's roads being dragged, which will make it a little bit easier to see tracks. Okay, checking carefully here. Now, there's some wonderfully big termite mounds around this area that Karula has. We've often found her sitting on top, looking for potential prey species. Also, where we get these little monkey orange thickets, like we've got over here. This is quite a small one. It's really a really favorite area of steenbok and duiker, which is Karula's preferred prey. Looks like we might get a little bit of light through the clouds. Actually, this particular area, I've had many fantastic leopard sightings. It was also a favorite hangout of my favorite leopard, Kunyuma. I definitely wouldn't mind a little visitation from Mr. Snarly Pants. Joe is wondering, what is the loudest animal in Africa? I would probably say the human being on a weekend with a big sound system, but I think Joe's referring to something else. I would probably say it's between elephant and lion for the loudest in terms of decibels. I'm not exactly sure. I think an elephant trumpet might top the pops. If not, I think it's a lion roar. So, thank you very much to Kyle, Spirit in the Sky, and Star who've sent me a bit more information on blue tongue disease. Apparently it is an insect-borne virus that causes swelling in the tongue, lesions on the feet, high fever, and swelling of the face. Well, I have not heard of it. It might be a high-fault species, but I will have to actually double-check whether it occurs in this area. But I have not ever heard of blue tongue disease in the low fault, but I will check with our local wildlife vet, see if he can shed some light. And it was first noted in South Africa. I nearly forgot that part. So it does occur in South Africa, but where is another question. So Lucy in Indiana is saying, that's the first wildebeest we've seen in a while. Do I know where they all went? So Lucy, you'll notice we're seeing less wildebeest and less zebra at the moment. With the rain, those animals will spread out. They don't have to be so concentrated around water as they were when we hadn't had any rain. So they literally spread out everywhere. Quite a lot of them, I would say, have gone on a small local migration, probably towards the Kruger Park and the southern Manuletti on the big basalt grasslands you get there on the Gabbros, where there's a lot of nice green Thermida, which is Natal red grass, which is one of the best grazing grasses out there if you're a herbivore. So still no tracks as of yet. We're approaching a treehouse waterhole at the moment. And Wium and I are scanning the bush very intently. We are very keen to find a leopard. The nice thing about going really slowly and quietly like this is we do give our ears a chance, just a chance, to hear an alarm call. But in this gusting wind, that'll make that a little more difficult.
Brent and myself checking really carefully for tracks of where Karula might have gone. Now, remember I pulled over to the side and I stopped and I looked for a little while, just a bit earlier. Now, I'm looking at a mark in the road and I'm trying to work out if it's a drag mark. What I'm going to do is I'll pull over a little bit so that you can see properly. It's a bit tricky because there's a bit of a tree in my way. I think that's probably, am I still too, you can sort of see it there. I'm just going to hop out and see if there's not tracks around it. I couldn't decide if it was earlier I dismissed it as an ant trail, but I'm not sure that it is. And I just want to get out and check really carefully because now I can actually see it moving off onto the side of the road. Which way is my light going to be best? My light's probably going to be best like this. Now, when you're looking for drag marks as opposed to an ant trail, you're looking for stones that have been dislodged. So ants walk over the stones, they don't leave any kind of mark. They just leave a sort of a clear place where the sand has been trampled. But when something is dragged, because it's on the ground, it will pull stones along with it, which is why I just want to check really carefully along here. It looks, I can't see any tracks on either side, but the soil type is not the easiest. After it's become a little bit damp, leopards barely, at times, leave a footprint in the sand. I'm just going to check a bit further along here as well. Doesn't look as though the stones have been disturbed. The buffalo are just off to my right. Now, we've spoken about how perfect this weather is for hunting. To look look a little bit further down here. We'll drive along a little bit, see if there's any tracks coming out of this block. Otherwise, I do want to go for a bit of a walk in the drainage line. Don't see anything. That's a perfect place for her to hide a kill if this is a drag mark. It just seems to tie in perfectly with her tracks wandering along this road in this dark and windy weather. Leopards, of course, being very cryptically coloured. It's not always that easy to spot them in here. I think she might be. If she has dragged a kill down into this drainage line, the chances are that her cubs are not with her. She's not likely to take a kill back to a den site. We'll go down and just quickly check the other side of the drainage line. If there's nothing there, then I'll come back here and go for a walk to see if there's any sign of her. It's just not quite right for a drag mark. The stones should be more disturbed than they are. The ground should be more disturbed than it is. Oh, better not crash into our friendly tree. One of the first things I did when I first started working here, still getting used to the lay of the land, so to speak, and I went across towards the big jackalberry tree that sits on Cutline, and I'm convinced one day I'm going to see a leopard there. It hasn't happened yet, but it's such a perfectly formed leopard tree. And I went to check there with Wium, and I completely forgot there was a dead tree behind me, reversed straight into it and showered poor Wium in a collection of bark and twigs. Good morning.
Morning. So
how's it, guys?
Where are the last tracks?
Last tracks are just a little bit further around that corner, probably about 20 meters away.
Okay, I haven't checked the whole of Gowrie Main, right?
Okay. Just have a look. I need a second opinion on a mark in the road.
Okay.
And there's no stones disturbed, so I'm not sure if it's not just an ant trail.
Okay, well,
there's
have a
no
look.
tracks, but go have a look and see what you
Jeandre is
think.
blowing us kisses, trying to make us have funny faces on camera. Are you going to walk, or do you want me to walk in here?
You're welcome to walk down there. I'll see what's happening over there.
Perfect.
Cool. Just check and see if you think that's a drag mark or if it's just an ant trail. Cool.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Such a perfect hiding place in here. Let's see what Brent's second opinion thinks about that particular mark. Okay, so Brent's come in from the western side of us around Treehouse Dam, but neither of us have gone down this road and into the dip. Let's just see. Oh, no, that's not true. I can see Brent's tracks coming out of this dip. So her tracks haven't really popped out around here. So that drag, or that mark, could well be a drag mark of her with a kill somewhere in this drainage line. Ooh. Howling wind. All right, Brent agrees with me. It's not quite right for a drag mark. He thinks it's an ant trail as well. Hyena tracks in the road. So where has this leopard disappeared off to? We'll go and check around here, check the southern boundary more carefully. Looks as though, judging from Brent's tyre tracks, he's checked this particular junction very carefully. So now it's just a question of, is she around here? Siberia Zumi has said that she thinks Karula needs to adopt the breadcrumb method of, that he thinks that Karula should have dropped the breadcrumb method of helping us follow her. Karula is one of the hardest leopards to track in this particular environment. I don't know what it is about the way that she moves. She just has a very interesting way of totally changing direction and going off in the opposite way that you expect her to. One of those fascinating little aspects about her, all leopards are tricky to track, especially in this light and especially on this kind of light, cloudy day. And after rain, when the soil's all compacted. Nevertheless, we've spoken to trackers, Jeffrey and Bright, for example, the gentlemen that come in to help us over Big Cat Week. They also agree that she's one of the most difficult leopards they've ever tracked. She's a clever girl, that one. I'm also checking really carefully around this area. So far, the only life I've managed to spot, apart from the Wahlbergs that Jeandre saw, is a little Speaks hinge tortoise that is racing away from us at high speed in full running mode. That's about as fast as our Speaks hinge tortoises will go. Go, buddy, go. They are rejoicing in this weather, not so much because of the cool, because the cool is going to make them feel a little bit lazy and cold, being exotherms, but so much green grass for them to nibble on. Off he pops, disappearing beneath the bushes and the drainage line. I'm going to do one more circuit. I haven't seen Karula's tracks coming out, and I don't want both of us focusing for too long on where Karula's disappeared off to. And speaking about, since we have been tracking Karula, Kim was wondering, do we have any updates on Karula's daughter, Shadow, and her cubs? And Kim, from what I understand, Shadow was seen yesterday on Arathusa. And for those of you familiar with the Arathusa geography, she's in one of her favorite drainage line systems, one where we found her on a regular basis that runs to the east of the Arathusa Dam. She was seen there with her cub. And we didn't follow up from there just because that cub is even younger than Karula's cubs. So we've left her to, but it seems as though she's decided to hide her cubs out in the drainage line or in the drainage line systems of Arathusa. So wonderful news there, very, very exciting. We do have the prospect of some amazing times ahead with our leopards and our lions, actually, between the pregnant 6 females, Karula with her cubs, and now Shadow with hers. Definitely been an exceptionally fortunate year for all of them. Oh, I'm just a bit tangled up here, sorry. Just fix my earpiece. Managed to wrap itself in my jacket. Even the birds are a little bit quiet this morning. They're only just starting to come out. There is a very sweet little one there. Hopefully it's going to stay. It's going to... You've got it there, Jeandre. It's down on the ground, the dead tree, on the top of that dead fallen tree, the little branch. There we go. Perfect. One very cold-looking little bee-eater, all fluffed up and shivering, head darting about, looking for food. This actually happens to be my favorite bee-eater species. Even though the carmines are big and striking and the white-throated are also very brightly colored, I love the colors of the little bee-eater. They're also known as the springbok bird, partly because of the way in which they hunt, but mostly because the colors of this bee-eater match up perfectly to our rugby team. And as most of you will know, South Africans and rugby go hand in hand. Almost all of us have grown up watching and supporting rugby teams in our time. Look at its head darting about the place, looking for a potential insect prey. And chatting a bit about birds, Aqua would like to know if there are any bird species that prefer to nest around homes and possibly even become something of problematic bird species. Aqua, I'm going to keep driving just so I can check towards the eastern side of the reserve. Aqua, swallows. Swallows really like to nest around homes. Doesn't make them, particularly the lesser striped swallow, seems to be one that likes the eaves of the roofs to set up their lovely little mud constructions, their mud homes. And that's also one of my favorite birds. It sounds like R2-D2, its call. That was a very poor impression, but that's exactly, to me, they sound like R2-D2. There's an African hoopoe. So maybe the bird's starting to wake up now. Probing the ground. This is my dad's favorite bird. They get so intently involved in their search for grubs underneath the soil that they'll get distracted enough. If you stay still, particularly in Johannesburg, if you stay still and let them come past you, they'll actually walk right up to your legs because they're so focused on finding things under the ground. The nerve cells, very, very sensitive around the beaks. I can hear a southern boo-boo as well, which has become my problem bird in its own way in terms of getting it on camera. And my nemesis. I don't want to get any closer. He just gave me a sideways glance. Isn't this a stunning bird? With its crest up, that striking, almost zebra-like pattern on the wings, and tan head.
Nu 50% korting op navigatie op de